to take on Indiana on Sunday at 1 p.m. Head coach Bobby Kelsey is here. We'll have some opening comments, then take questions.
It's been quite some time since we've talked to the media, but we've had some good victories and we've had some disappointing losses in that time. But the last two games have been a little tough for us, not having another post player and then not hitting shots and turning the ball over. But we're making some progress in some areas. We just have to be consistent. I think that's the biggest issue for us right now. We get one person going and then somebody else kind of drops off, and you're kind of going to get that when you have to play people that's not used to playing a whole lot. But credit to the other teams. They've done a good job of taking us out of what we want to do.
Where have you made progress, Bobby, in your mind?
Just with Nicole being a better scorer for us, hitting the threes. We had Jackie pick it up in the Northwestern game. The last night's game, we actually had more assists and turnovers. We shot a pretty decent percentage from the three. Free throws was good. Milena played well. We just didn't hit some baskets, and they hit probably every basket they took. So I see improvement, but again, it's got to be consistent improvement. Jackie needs to give us every game, the game she gave us in the second half of the Northwestern game. Nicole, she's the usual suspect. Dakota has to be more consistent. Cassie, she had a double-double in one of the games and then doesn't show up. Not to be critical of the kids, but they got to understand that you have to bring your best every night, whatever that is. And even if your shot's not going, there's other things you can do to help our team, whether it be rebounding, making free throws, stopping the other player on their team that's giving us trouble, knowing the scouting report, knowing the game plan. I could go on and on and on. But we're trying as coaches to help them to see it, whether it be video watching, individual watching. 'Cause sometimes you just need to see yourself or see somebody else doing it well and emulate. Sometimes imitation is good too. So we're just working on the different things that it's going to take for us to get more consistent the rest of this Big Ten season, because all the games are tough, every last one of them.
You mentioned defensively, too. Is it primarily because of a lack of a number of post players, or is it more than just them getting to the rim? Some
of it is that. Every team has a good post player. We're going to see AG tomorrow. She's 6'6". The other night it's Zowie. The night before it's Cohen. Everybody's got it. We have 6'5", Cassie and Milena, but the people we're counting on, Michaela Crawl and Rosie Gambino, you're talking about 2 6'4" kids that you don't have. Of course, Mix out. That's 6'3". So it wears on. Milena, she's still young. Cassie is, she's coming off of her injury and trying to get her bearings. And when you just have the two, and Jackie being undersized, it's just hard when you have to match up with those kids. And you got to double them, and then they kick it out and they get a three. And if it's not going, that's good. But if it's going in, then you got to leave somebody somewhere. But we're going to try to do some different things to see if we can figure out how to guard both, which is very difficult to do, especially when teams are hitting shots.
Talking about consistency, in your mind, is it up to the coaches to find which buttons to push with certain players so they have that mindset? And if so, what sort of methods do you use to try to push those buttons with the individual players? Because every personality is different.
Exactly. Some you can get on a little bit, others you got to stroke a little bit. I think, just trying to give them confidence in what they can do. I think we tend to focus on what we can't do or what's not going right instead of what's going right, and let's do more of that. But there's some methodology to it, but you got to just know your players. Every coach has a different, method to what they do. I tend to try to do the positive sandwich, positive, get on them a little bit, and then back it up with some more positive. I'm not always the best at it, especially when I know what they can do and it's just for whatever reason they're not doing it. But I think, we just try to be more motivational than put out the whip and just whip them all the time, especially with this group because we just don't have a lot of depth. And with all these games coming back to back to back, we just have to raise their level of confidence to let them know we we've hit a bump, but we can get through it if we just work together and continue to share the ball and make shots. That's been our biggest issue, trying to be more consistent with making the shots we do get. Yesterday we had a lot of open shots. We just, for whatever reason, the ball just wasn't dropping for us in the first half.
Like you said, whenever you have a game like that, is it kind of nice to rush back onto the court to get another crack at it?
Sometimes, I think so. The more, when you lose, the longer you have, the more you think about what you haven't done. That's why it was nice to get the Christmas game, because you got a long break when you're coming back. I know last year we lost the game right before Christmas, and it makes for a not so great Christmas, but, you don't want to put everything on a game, but it doesn't keep you in a good mood. But it's nice to get right back on the court, I think. The only problem with when you have a low depth or not a lot of depth, kids are kind of tired, more mentally than anything. So we won't go too long today. It's just one-day prep, and whatever we got to get, in an hour and a half, that's what we got to get. So, but they're motivated. They're positive. We're not going to hang our head just because we got a loss or two. We just got to bounce back and try to get this next one.
Bobby, it's not often you see Penn State at the bottom of the Big Ten. What's happening with the Lady Lions?
I think they're young. They have a lot of young players, some transfers that not maybe used to Coach Washington's system. But they're good. I'm baffled by it. I guess the other team is just scoring more points. But Penn State don't go by the record. It's not indicative. I think they've lost 5 or 6 games by 19 points. I think 6. They got 2 overtime games that they lost. And a couple other ones, 2 points, 3 points, 5 points. That was us 2 years ago. You just right there. We don't want to be the game that they turn the page on, but this. I'm telling our kids, don't go by the record. Just like we tell them people shouldn't go by our record, because we can get hot and get going. And I think we're tough cover when we have everybody on the same page. So Penn State is big. They got 6'4", 6'6", 6'2". They're big. They got some quick guards. So we're going to have a plan and see if we can execute it to the max. And hopefully our shots are going in more than theirs. So we'll see.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bobby.